Am I the a-hole for what I told my mother-in-law when she asked to be in the delivery room? My husband, male 33, and I, female 30, are expecting a baby boy, and we're barely catching up with preparation and getting everything ready. His mom, kind of a busybody type but can be helpful at times, invited us for dinner and said she has an important request to make. She brought a request up at dinner table and blatantly said that she wanted to be in the delivery room with me when I give birth. I was taken aback by her request. I really thought it had something to do with a nursery or diaper brand. I said I was sorry, but only my mom and my husband will be there. She made a face, got quiet for a while, then brought it up again. Just kept pushing, saying she is as much of a grandmother as my mom, and that she just wanted to be there for support and get the opportunity to see her grandbaby's first moments. And my husband sided with her. I just stared at her and said, "It's all right. You can have the opportunity to be in the delivery room when it's your son who's giving birth." Everyone stopped eating, and my mother-in-law left the table in an instant. My husband had me got up, although I wasn't finished with dinner, but he said we should leave. In the car, he lost it on me asking what brain cell made me think it was a good idea to tell his mom that. I told him his mom kept pushing after I'd already given her an answer. Still, he said this was the most messed up stuff he heard me say. I replied that I was just frustrated and didn't mean to hurt her feelings and cause issues. He argued that if I don't want issues, then I should stop making things difficult and just say yes to his mom's request. He then ranted about how it's his son too, and then said if his mom isn't allowed in there, then he won't be there too. Now, I don't know if he really meant this or just said it in the heat of the moment, but it had me fuming. He's been ignoring me when I try to talk to him and act like I'm not in the room. I think I might have gone too far and created tension by responding inappropriately. Am I the a-hole? Edit. There has been some tension between me, my husband, and his family lately, and this probably blew up because of built-up resentment. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Actually, what you said makes sense as we're talking about your body here. The reality is that your mother-in-law just did you a favor here, because your husband siding with her is showing issues in your marriage and the difficulties you're going to face when it comes to decisions about your pregnancy or your child. I would tell him that if he doesn't come into the delivery room when I give birth, and if he's not supportive of my decision concerning my body, our marriage will be over, and he shouldn't bother coming to the hospital at all, because he will have to wait until I go back to my parents to meet our son. Go see a lawyer to prepare for a divorce just in case, and try to get an appointment with a therapist to help you through all of it. This. Opie needs to prepare herself for the worst outcome. Mother-in-law literally ambushed her by making that request in front of everyone and not taking no as an answer. There are a million reasons to why Opie just wants her mother and husband in the delivery room. Her husband is behaving like a mama's boy and probably thinks that throwing a tantrum like, "If she's not there, I won't be there as well," will make Opie change her stance. This can become a bigger problem in the future with other parenting decisions at stake. I agree with your advice. Opie should seek a lawyer and be prepared. They want to play like kids, but someone needs to remind them all that no means no, and actions required consequences. Not to mention, I believe that the husband set this up. He was way too quick to defend his mother and insist Opie give in to her request at dinner. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to move my husband into a home on his dime? I, 48 female, married my husband, 66 male, 23 years ago. Yes, there was a large age gap. He had a wife and children, and he left her for me. There were problems in that marriage that I won't touch on, and he and I have been happy. His children, 38 male, 36 male, 32 female, and I have never gotten along very well, and the relationship between him and his children have been strained. This is the dynamic, and not what I'm here to be judged on. He was the breadwinner of the household, and I did some part-time work, but that was about it. But we've lived comfortably even after his retirement 5 years ago. My husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about a year ago. He's been getting worse very quickly, and while I've done my best, his care is becoming too much for me to the point where I've made a difficult decision that I cannot provide what is needed. I've looked through a lot of options, and I've chosen to move him into a home with specialized care for his condition. I did tell his children, who knew of his diagnosis, about my choice since I felt they had a right to know. Now they're furious with me, claiming it's unfair for me to do that, telling me that I wrecked their home only to not keep my marriage vows of in sickness and in health to him, and saying that I've always been a gold digger, and my choice to use his money to send him away proves that. Obviously it hurt. I vented to a friend of mine who told me that she did think it was cold of me to stop caring for him, as he will most likely decline more rapidly. Now I'm starting to feel bad for the choice I've made. My friend suggested that I should make the commitment of taking a class or something to learn how to care for him. It agreed with his children that I signed up for this when I got with a married man. Am I the a-hole for wanting to move my husband into a care home? Edit. For more information regarding finances, I'm using his money to ensure he gets the best care possible, because insurance will not cover everything. Even if I went back to work, I would not make enough on my own. I'd like to say that I'm all on my own regarding care for him. The children will not see him, nor will they be involved, because the relationship is strained due to the divorce and remarriage. Some people do not like that I did not include a paragraph explaining how much I love my husband and how I personally feel towards the children and him and the situation. I chose to respect the word count and to try to be as objective as possible. I've been happily married for nearly 25 years, and he truly is the love of my life. I want to care for him, but I cannot provide a 24/7 care necessary, and the layout of our house is not suitable for him. So it's been determined that it's easier on him to deal with a full-time transition team at a home than it is to move him with me and then try to tackle his regression and messed up routine. I also had questions of why I haven't looked into other options or if I spoke to the doctors. We had a very terrifying elopement incident which ended in some violence towards emergency services. That has really triggered this move to a care home. I'm looking for the best possible care for him, and the doctors have been wonderful in support and assistance. They have assured me that I am not abandoning him by getting him the care he needs. People ask, will I visit? The answer is that if COVID policies permit, the answer is yes. I will make it a point to visit often until it is no longer helpful, which I have been warned can happen. Finally, to everyone who has shared their personal experience caring for someone in a similar condition, thank you very much, and my heart goes out to each and every one of you. You are in my thoughts and prayers. I'm sorry that I cannot reply to everyone. This is beyond the scope of the sub. Advice from your husband's doctors and Alzheimer's support groups would be a better source of information for making a decision like this. Involving his children in the discussion would probably help them understand and accept your choice, but it's still your choice. I've tried to involve them where I can, but because of how the first marriage ended and everything, there has always been a strain and resentment there. They've never really looked at him the same way for it, especially the oldest. They want nothing to do with it and claim that since I married him, it's my responsibility. His care has been put entirely on me, and I'm honestly at the point where I cannot do what I need to. I even quit the part-time job that I had at the time. I do love him and I want him to be home, but the doctors agreed that if it gets to be too much, he needs help. Opie, get a full-time job. Those kids may have opinions, but they're not going to support you when you're old. To all the people calling Opie a gold digger, it is incredibly expensive to pay for a long-term care for an Alzheimer's patient. It is also extraordinarily difficult for one person alone to care for someone like this at home. Opie is not the a-hole. She's paying out thousands and thousands of dollars to the care facility every year to make sure her husband is clean, fed, given therapy, and is monitored 24/7 to keep him safe. I wonder if the husband's adult children are upset that any potential inheritance they might have had is going towards their father's care. Also, the people who want to throw in sickness and health in Opie's face are not understanding it is close to impossible for one person to monitor and provide adequate care for an Alzheimer's patient. Opie made the most expensive but safest choice for her husband. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that yes, the gym is more important to me than her and her daughter? I, 32 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 29 female, for about 18 months, and she has the cutest little 4-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. As our relationship has progressed, I've been spending more and more time at my girlfriend's place to the point that I've all but moved in with them. This is mostly just because it's logistically easier for me to go to her place since she has a kid and I don't. I work from 4:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. I get to bed by 4 a.m. and then wake up around noon. And then on most days, head off to the gym and spend about 2 hours there total. I like to work out. It makes me feel good, keeps me healthy, and I also consider it a professional responsibility to stay in shape. Working 10-hour shifts means that I don't have a ton of time in between shifts, but that I also have more days off than most working people. This was never a problem until I, basically, moved in with my girlfriend. Suddenly, lately, when I wake up and try to head off to gym, she's all, "Oh, it's all about you, huh?" Or, "You only care about doing what you need to do. Daughter doesn't understand why you are leaving and why you don't want to spend time with us." The last time, things came to a head. When my girlfriend started objecting to my going to the gym, I told her, "I'll see you and daughter for a little bit before I go off to work. And then tomorrow I'm off and don't have a workout scheduled, so we'll have the whole day together. But I have to get my workout in today. It's a priority." She then responded, "So the gym is a priority, but me and daughter aren't? If you want to be part of this family, it's not all about you anymore. So what's more important to you, the gym or us?" I responded, "Well, if you're going to force me to choose instead of making room for something that you know is important to me, then I guess I have to choose the gym." I then left. I'm sitting in my own apartment now. Things may be over. In fairness, I should note that she wasn't insisting that I never go to the gym again. She just wanted to renegotiate my schedule. But I was unwilling because I felt as if that would get in the way of my goals. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Not for prioritizing the gym so much, but for basically moving into her home when you weren't serious about her. It's hard on kids to have parental type figures come and go a lot. Makes their lives less secure. Don't jerk kids around. In what way did he show he wasn't serious? In what way did he jerk kids around? By going to the gym? Furthermore, isn't it the mom's responsibility to make this clear before he moves in? OP isn't a parent and may not have realized his role as a parental figure. You're right. The mom and guy should have talked stuff out. But the part where he made it clear he wasn't serious was when, in comparison to spending time with a child, he said that the gym was his priority, and he was unwilling to negotiate to a solution. He'd try to live with someone without making the necessary adjustments to his life. First off, it's not his kid, and I guarantee that will be made very obvious the second she needs it to be. Keep that in mind. Second of all, parents or parental figures need to have alone time for hobbies that keep them healthy. Going to the gym is one of those. It is not only good for his health, but set a great example for the kid. What he was explaining was that there needs to be a balance and both parents need to help each other find that balance. Forcing one parent to give up something as essential as the gym because that time could be spent with her and her daughter is toxic. Not every waking moment that is not at work needs to be with a kid, especially if that time away from the kid is used in a healthy and productive way like working out. Also, giving an ultimatum is not a great way to go about getting what you want either. He's not saying he chooses the gym over the daughter. He's saying he chooses the gym over this behavior. This feels more like incompatibility than a-hole territory. I also kind of feel like you were backed into making a choice. She gave you an either-or question, which of course sounds terrible. I'm going no a-holes here because it just seems like your lives don't seem to be a good fit. Not everyone fits together, and that's okay. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé's friend she isn't my problem and I don't care about her feelings? My fiancé and I are getting married in 2023. My best friend and best man is going to have a year-old kid by the time of our wedding, and he and his wife are planning on coming out from out of the country to support us, so we decided to have the kiddo be the ring bearer. Over the weekend, my fiancé had some friends over. Her best friend's sister, let's call her Abby, came too. Context. Abby briefly dated my best friend in uni. She cheated on him and he kicked her to the curb. It's ancient history, but I'm not fond of the girl in full transparency. So my fiancé and her friends were hanging out, talking wedding things, and they got a bit tipsy. And my fiancé starts yelling excitedly for me to bring the mini tux photo. My buddy sent me some pictures of tux onesies for his kid, our ring bearer, to get fiancé and I's approval of what we wanted them to get, so that's what she wanted. I came in and showed them, and they were all going crazy over how cute it was. Suddenly, Abby grabs my phone out of my hand and practically screams in my face. Wait, he's your best man? I get she was tipsy, but it really pissed me off. I took my phone back and told her not to yell in my face. So she turns to my fiancé and loudly says, "You can't let him, me, invite him." My fiancé looked puzzled, but her best friend was just like, "Abby, that's his best friend. Chill out." Then this girl starts crying and says she's going to have such an awkward time if he's there and she's single. It was ridiculous. I just left and went back to the living room, and I heard her sister tell her to grow up. So I thought it was dealt with. A few hours later, she cornered me in the kitchen while I was grabbing a beer and started begging me to not invite my best friend to my own damn wedding. She told me it would trigger her anxiety, and that if I cared about her feelings and really am a mental health advocate, mental health is huge to me, but not when it's weaponized, I would at least have him just be a guest. I was freaking floored by her audacity. I told her she wasn't my problem, and I didn't care about her feelings on this. I also told her I'd have a better time personally if she didn't come, so maybe she shouldn't if it would impact her mental state. Well, she started crying again and ran and told all the girls. My fiancé says she doesn't think I did the wrong thing necessarily, but that I didn't need to be so harsh. Some of the other girls gave me dirty looks as they were leaving. I've been feeling guilty because usually I wouldn't speak to someone like that, but I felt she was really crossing a line. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. How entitled is she? Your fiancé's best friend's sister is trying to dictate who you have as best man? Seriously, that is messed up. I think you handled it absolutely brilliantly. You were clear, concise, and polite until she went too far. She crossed the line and you stood firm. That's a great comment. Same thinking for me. My man, it's your wedding. Your wedding. You invite whoever you please, and nobody can say otherwise. This girl has, as you rightly pointed out, tried to emotionally blackmail you by weaponizing her mental health. So she's immediately the a-hole. I'm glad you stood up for yourself, your friend, and your principles. You've done absolutely the right thing. I think, as your wife said, you were a bit harsh, but that can't be helped now. You were obviously irate at a time, and she was tipsy, so it blew up more than it should have, but you're in the right. So yeah, don't sweat it, King. You're all gravy. If this Abby girl has anxiety about an ex she cheated on, she needs a reality check in my opinion. Your friend has moved on, got married, and had a baby. You literally won't even notice her. Update. My cousin's mad I don't want to date her cheater friend. Original post. Ran into my cousin and her friend at a party last weekend. Hung out with her friend most of the night and we got along. She's cute and she asked for my number and we started texting. Yesterday I was telling my friend about her and how we were planning a date, and he told me she'd been caught cheating on a boyfriend of hers a couple of years ago. I even reached out to that boyfriend and he confirmed it all. I asked her if this was true, and she admitted she'd made a horrible mistake, but that she had grown and reflected. I don't really care, though. I lost all interest in her once I knew what she'd done. So I told her it was best we cancel our date plans and look elsewhere. Now my cousin and her are trying to convince me that it was a one-time thing and that she's learned her lesson, but I could never be with someone who has ever cheated. Sucks too. I really liked her. But the damage is done. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Lol, she'll get over it. It's completely valid to not want to take that chance. Yeah, it just sucks. I actually believe she's sorry for what she's done, but that just isn't enough. Trust was broken before it had time to form. Would it have been different if she told you about it right up front? Or is it just a hard no regardless? Just curious. We all have our morals. Cheating is a 100% hard deal breaker for me. Yeah, this is understandable. Cheating is a big deal breaker in my opinion. There are so many people out there who haven't cheated. There is no reason to waste time with people who have. Second woman I've really liked up front, but found a deal breaker early on in only 3 months. Just glad it keeps happening early, I suppose, instead of me getting invested. What was the deal breaker for the other woman? Also a history of cheating? No cheating. We were getting along great and went on a few dates, but she then told me she was asexual and hoped I'd be okay with it. I wasn't. I have no interest in being in a sexless relationship, so I stopped seeing her. I will translate for your cousin. She has been single for 2 years, but sleeping with a bunch of dudes who were not interested in a relationship with her. You are the first guy who has thought about a relationship with her, and she thinks she is over all the random FWB and one-night stands. Well, she's an attractive woman and was fun to talk to. I'm sure she can find herself a guy other than me, no issue. Still don't understand why they are trying to make me that guy so bad. Mini update. So a few hours after I posted this, I started getting texts from 2 of my cousin and her friends also trying to convince me that it was no big deal. They were like character witnesses in a courtroom or something. Lots of claims that she really likes me and that I'm the first guy she's been interested in years. They're claiming she felt so terrible that she stayed single the entire time and has only recently been open to dating, and that I'm going to hurt her badly if I don't give her a chance. I feel bad, but also, this is bizarre in an almost funny kind of way. I don't know why they're fighting so hard for this. I'm just some guy she met at a party. I'm pretty average looking. Is there a shortage of tall, hairy, chubby men out there that has women dying of thirst? This is absurd. Now for the full update. So, for a few days, I entertained my cousin, Leah the girl who cheated, and a few friends pestering me because I was confused and amused by a bunch of women trying to force me to date someone. I'm not ugly, at least in my opinion, but I am not worth this amount of work to try and win over when I've already said no a dozen times. I sent my cousin the following text, and that seems to have settled the issue. Hey, I know you guys are just looking out for Leah, but you have to know that dragging this out and pushing me to date her when I don't want to is doing more harm than good for her. You're giving her false hope when I've been very honest with her, and you, that this isn't happening. Let's assume I do what you ladies want and go out with Leah. Let's even assume I fall for her and we get serious. I will spend the rest of my life with a nagging insecurity in the back of my head that she's going to do the same thing she did to Josh to me. I don't want a relationship where I can't even trust the person I'm with. And as my family, you should love me enough to not want that for me either. Just drop it, because I don't want my relationship with you to suffer because of this. Please just respect my wishes and let it go. She replied with, understood. End of discussion then. Love you. Leah sent me a text. I'll respect your wishes on this. If you ever change your mind, know that you're a great guy and I'd still be open to giving us a shot. But this is the last I'll mention it, unless you do change your mind. So that's it. It's over. I have no idea why I was being harassed about this, but I'm no longer getting texts about it, so I'm moving on. Now if I can just find a woman who hasn't cheated or isn't a closet asexual, that would be great. Head held high, dude. Good answer. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to write it out. That was probably draft 7 or 8 because I'm so used to most of my texts being goofy or dumb in some way. I'm not so good with serious stuff. You're a freaking legend, my guy. Shut it down, held the line, dodged a walking red flag, and stayed respectful. King behavior. While what they did is wrong from my perspective, I do believe they had her best interest at heart. I also believe that Leah is a good person who deserves a chance at love and happiness. I'm just not that guy for her, because I can't get over that insecurity that would inevitably grow in me. I think she's changed and truly regrets her past actions. I was tempted to lash out at one point, but that wouldn't do anyone any good, so I tried to just keep it clean for everyone's sake. She's a beautiful woman with charm to spare, so I doubt she'll have trouble finding someone else with very little effort. I'm not her last chance at love or anything. Next story. Update. Am I wrong for how I handled a prank my brother's fiancé pulled on me? Original post. So I know this isn't as dramatic as some of the posts here, but I'm curious for your opinions. My brother, 29 males, fiancé, 24 female, has been trying to prank me, 23 male, forever. I don't get startled easily, so she has decided on her own to take up the challenge of being the person who successfully scares me. I never prank her back, but sometimes I'll play along with her attempts. She doesn't do this often. Previous pranks include hiding behind a door, car, or in a closet, and jumping out at me, so it's never anything elaborate. They've been together 3 years. I've never had any problems with them, but she tried to prank me last night and now my brother is upset about it. Both my brother and his fiancée are currently crashing at my apartment because they are in the process of moving into their first home in my city. The prank? She hid under my bed while I was out for a run in the evening. When I got back, before I went into the shower, I was at my bedside table taking my watch off and dropping it on the charger. The room was dark except for my lamp, so I didn't notice anyone under my bed. She touched my foot. It was a really light graze, so it didn't register with me. I stepped back and squatted down so I could see under there a little. It was dark, but I could see long hair. A part of me just knew it was her because no one else would do this. I said something like, "Her name, I can see you under there, but who's the other one?" This scared her. In her panic, she struggled to get out from under the bed, all while asking me, "What do you mean?" She scrambled out and slammed into me. She also screamed, which made my brother come into the room. She was in my arms. I take it this is why he's mad. I tried to explain I was just messing with her because she was clearly trying to prank me. He thinks I'm flirting with his fiancée, and apparently this has been going on for a while since these pranks began. I told him the pranks are his fiancée's idea, and he should be having this conversation with her, not me. It's been really awkward between us now. I have 2 more weeks with them. I feel like they're both blaming me, and it's unfair. Should I apologize? But for what? I feel like I'm owed the apology. Am I being an a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Show them both the door out of your house immediately. Seriously, that level of boundary crossing isn't a joke. It's a red flag. If she's pulling stunts like that now and he's defending it, they both clearly have no respect for you or your space. Hope he isn't flirting with brother's fiancée, but she sure as heck is. And brother dear has started to notice that too. But that's something he should discuss with his wife-to-be and not the victim of her harassment. Stumbling to find yourself in your crush's arms who strongly hold you is such a cheesy rom-com trait. Not the a-hole. So it's okay for his girlfriend to constantly prank you, but the one time you turn it around on her and all of a sudden you're the bad guy? Your brother should have put a stop to this a long time ago and stopped enabling his girlfriend's crappy behavior. Tell him that she is no longer allowed in your home, and frankly, he should not be either until both of them learn how to be actual adults. It honestly feels like she told him a version of events to save her own butt that's made him develop a misunderstanding or grudge against me. I don't know what it is though, because he's giving me the cold shoulder until I apologize, but I have nothing to apologize for. Shaking my head. Now for the update. I spoke with my brother privately, since his feelings are more important to me. He said this all came out because ever since they moved into my apartment, his fiancée has been making comments about how I maintain my place, handle chores, the cooking I do for us, how I'm quick to fix things, that I make furniture. I do that for a living. Random things like that. He felt she was comparing us, and her comments started to build up. He apologized for directing his frustration at me instead of communicating with her, which he then turned around and did. I don't know how that went. She refused to apologize to me initially because she claims I have flirted with her too, but she couldn't come up with a single example of the behavior. It doesn't exist. As straightforwardly as I could, I made it clear to both of them that I am not interested in her, and if she can't apologize, she can leave. I entertained the pranks before because they were harmless, but they're off the table now. I didn't have a rule about going into my room. I only told them to knock first if I was in there. Today she approached me to apologize. I told her I know it's insincere, but I'll accept it because I love my brother. I hope they break up. She refused to apologize to me initially because she claims I've flirted with her too, but she couldn't come up with a single example of the behavior because it doesn't exist. If her pranking you is flirting, Then I'm guessing she thought you pranking her back was also flirting. I think so too, but her pranks were premeditated, and my response was just my reaction. I did turn the tables, and I found it amusing, but outside of that just being my personality, I've never actually pranked her. I won't play with her moving forward. I'm going to keep interactions short, leave no room for misunderstanding. She's just putting blame on you to take the blame off herself. You're probably just a charismatic guy with a playful or good sense of humor, and if you're attractive, she's probably into you. So she wishes you were also flirting, because that's what she was doing. Like, she didn't have to crawl into your arms when you scared her. She did that on purpose. Your brother should reconsider this relationship. She's going to put him down even more when they're married, and she doesn't seem that loyal. I thought you would update. I asked you originally how long she had been hiding under your bed while you were out, and you mentioned that your brother had been gaming. I judged your brother on not even knowing where his fiancée was because he was too interested in his gaming. I was wrong. I feel really bad for him. If she is banging on at him constantly about how much you do around the house where chores are concerned, how you cook for them, how you fix things, etc., it means that he has been feeling inferior for a while. Not your fault, obviously, because you are just taking care of your own home and taking care of your guests. Can you imagine what his life will be like when they find their own place? She sounds like she will expect him to do everything. The fact that she basically admitted to flirting with you is enough of a reason for him to reconsider their relationship. I think he's halfway there already. She is a nightmare. The comments she's made are apparently new and only started when they moved into my apartment, based on my conversation with my brother. He feels like a lot of it is probably due to us being in close quarters and the general disruption of their routines. My brother struggles to adapt when he loses his routine. They're living out of boxes. They're short with each other and stressing out about their move. There were also some maintenance issues with their house that needed to be addressed before they could obtain occupancy. I got a bit more of a clearer picture after he opened up to me. He did apologize, and I know he means it too. My understanding, however, doesn't extend to her. I think she's immature. My brother is the one taking on most of their tasks, and to hear that she's been criticizing him ticked me off. I think he's started feeling burnt out, and gaming is something that allows him to escape and decompress. He might have been isolating, and that ramped up her boredom, so she decided to focus on pranking me. That part's a guess, though. Oh, and for what it's worth, my brother tends to be really slow with decision-making, so even if he sees the flaws in her that I've brought attention to, he's the type of person who is going to turn the same thoughts over 1,000 times before he does anything about it. So I'm staying out of the relationship side of things. Last story, am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend's friend group chat after they kept joking about me? So I, 19 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 21 male, for about 6 months now. A few weeks ago, he added me to his group chat with his close friends because we were all going to meet for a trip they were planning. At first, it was chill. They were welcoming and all, but then the jokes started. It started off small, like calling me Miss Influencer when I'd post selfies, or saying stuff like, "Oh, she's high maintenance," when I mentioned I liked getting my nails done. I laughed it off, even though it made me kinda uncomfortable. But then one of them sent a meme about girls who trap guys and tagged me in it like, "Yo, this you?" And everyone reacted with laughing emojis. I didn't even know what to say. The thing is, I don't even post anything that crazy online. I mean, I try to look cute, sure, but I don't think I give off that vibe. You can probably see what I mean. I asked my boyfriend in private if he could maybe say something because it was getting kinda disrespectful, but he said, "They're just joking, don't take it personal." So a few days ago, I just quietly left the group chat. Didn't make a scene or anything. Now some of them are calling me too sensitive, and my boyfriend says I made it awkward for him with his friends. But like, if I don't feel comfortable, isn't it okay to just step away? Am I the a-hole for leaving the chat? Not the a-hole. It doesn't bode well for a relationship if your boyfriend can't or won't step in and is already brushing off your valid feelings. It doesn't matter if they're joking. If it makes you feel uncomfortable or like they're piling on you, which it sounds like they are, you're under no obligation to stay in a group chat where a group of dudes are consistently dunking on you and showing disrespect. Keep in mind that a great way to judge the character of someone is based on the company they keep and/or whether they call people out on their BS. Yeah, that's exactly my opinion. I'm honestly usually joking all the time too. I don't get offended easily at all, but damn, this is too much. It's constant, and I guess this is why he thinks it's not too much. Your boyfriend's indifferent reaction to his friend's behavior shows there's a side of him you're not familiar with. And in those aspects, he's not much different from his a-hole friends. Not the a-hole. Life is nicer when you get away from a-holes. Facts. Cutting off toxic people is peace, not loss. Update. A customer bounced a $400 check to my small business and then told me to suck his D when I called him about it. I can't afford small claims. Original post. As the title says, a real jerk came into my flower store. He very rudely ordered 12 custom flower bowls to be made for him. I made his order and he picked it up. At the time of pickup, he was very hesitant to write me the check. He wanted to order more and then come back with one big check. I said no. Check now, please. He signed his name and tossed it to me. I had to write in the dollar amount. Now the check is bouncing. I have been by his bank every day for 2 weeks to attempt a cashier's check, but he doesn't have the funds in the account. I think he uses this checkbook for this exact reason. The check was number 003 from the book. Does anyone have any advice? I'm crying myself to sleep thinking about this. I can't afford to open a court case. My current ideas are 1. Putting David last name writes bad checks on my road sign next to a major road in town. 2. Call his employer. 3. Anything else that is legal. I'm about to drive the neighborhood and look for my flowers. Please help me get this man. I just want to grow my flowers. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Small claims court usually is not more than $50 to open a complaint. You'll win, but you'll also learn won is much different than collected. You may not be able to collect anything. File a report with the police and at the bank. Learn to not accept a check from a new account. Accept credit cards or preferably cash. Don't start stalking someone. You don't know this guy's name for certain. Even if you read off his driver's license, it could be faked. That is good to know. File a report with the police and with his bank. Got it. I'll be doing that when they open. I don't know how to file with small claims, but this is a good opportunity for a crash course. I'm upset about the money, but at this point I am just so mad that a grown, successful man can walk around with his chest out, all the while stomping on me, a young girl who's barely starting up. He drives a dozen different SUVs, and because of him, I'm working every shift this week, unable to pay my employee. He is an abuser with an ego, and he is not doing as well as you are. But make sure that fact is hidden under his brashness and chest-outness. Let us help you a little. If you're willing to give out your shop name, perhaps some of us can buy a few flowers and leave a tip. In the meantime, report. Make sure to have a shame list with names of past customers who have screwed you, even if they end up paying. Actions have consequences. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. So let yourself remind yourself and your employees that that man should never get farther than showing his ID before he is run off. Also, never accept checks. Tons of other ways to pay nowadays. Even businesses will find a way. For example, my business can do bank-to-bank transfers, PayPal, credit card, and we can do business checks, but prefer the other 3. These comments have me feeling extra stupid for learning this lesson. And thank you for the offer on spreading my business. My greenhouse is attached to my home, and my retail gazebo is in my front field. I think I'm done learning hard lessons today, so I'm not going to post my home address on Reddit. But thank you again. It's a crime. File a police report and have him arrested for check fraud. Don't put up the sign or attempt to take back your flowers, then you'll be committing crimes, harassment, and theft. Do this by the book and get this man arrested for fraud. You already have the proof. This is good advice, thank you. I never even thought about a police report. I was wondering if the sign would be harassment. I discovered we have a mutual friend on Facebook and reached out to them. It sounds like this mutual friend, a car salesman, has had this guy come in and give him a $1,000 check to hold a vehicle for him and then disappear. They never tried to cash the check. I wonder if he still has it. Now for the mini update. The police just left the greenhouse. They collected the paperwork I have for the whole mess. When the officer looked at the name of the guy, he said, "Oh no, please don't drop the charges on this one. I want to see it go through." And then he sat in his squad car for a few minutes and made a bunch of phone calls. That's a good sign, I guess. Full update. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to fight for my money. I filed a police report. The cop came out to my store, and when I handed him the information I had on the guy, he chuckled and said, "Oh, this guy. If you want to open a report, that's fine, and he deserves it. But he always comes running when we call him." And sure enough, he showed up an hour after the police had left him a message. He said I had no right involving the police, and that it was so far out of line that I needed to appease him somehow with a discount on more flowers. He then demanded I call the officer while he was there so he could see me drop the report. I told him our business is done and stood my ground. It was great. He left, and it honestly felt like it was the first time he hadn't gotten his way in a long time. That's awesome. Now put his picture at the register and a sign that says, "Refuse service, bad checks, theft." Face it where everyone can see it at the register. Include his name, it won't be illegal. P.S. I hope your business grows as big as you want it. You deserve it. I told the cop I'd been planning to put "David writes bad checks" on my street sign. The cop laughed and said, "Even after David pays, I should still put that on my sign because it's still true." Made me feel good. This dude reminds me of my landlord. Absolute nickel and diming scumbag who drags his heels on necessary repairs. Runs through workers like water because of nonsense like this. A-holes like this bank on scaring you into submission because the moment authorities are involved, they know they're screwed. Sounds like my ex-landlord. Had to sue him to get several square meters of black mold removed from the wall that separates the bathroom and the bedroom. There was a leak in the wall. In my jurisdiction, infrastructural issues are the landlord's responsibility, not the renter's. I wasn't the only tenant who had that problem. Several others had it in the past too, and that slumlord was a known name amongst lawyers in the housing and tenancy specialty. He tried to intimidate me, back then a woman in her early 20s, with phone calls several times, and even stood there screaming bloody murder at me the day of the repairs, which, until the last minute, were not even certain to happen because he was stalling the process and preferred to intimidate me into dropping the case instead. That a-hole lived in a multi-million euro Mountain Vista residence, which I know because I handed in my termination of rent contract personally with a witness. Dude also had a habit of claiming important mail never reached him, of course, so that's why I drove there myself with a witness, while his renters were rotting in moldy apartments. I hope that slumlord died painfully from his high blood pressure. Very obvious. Dude's head was permanently as red as a turkey's face, and he was fairly old, so just a matter of time. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my boyfriend get a taste of his own medicine? My 29 female boyfriend, 27 male, has this habit of constantly calling me dumb or stupid. It started as a joke, and at first I laughed along. But over time, it became his go-to way of addressing me, no matter the situation. I asked him, begged him to stop, especially in front of his friends. But he would just chuckle and say, "What? But you are dumb." His friends even picked it up, and now they casually call me dumb too. It's humiliating. I started avoiding his social gatherings because I knew I'd just be the butt of their jokes. Whenever I told him how much it bothered me, he'd just say I was being too sensitive and that it was just a joke. Last night I hosted a party with my work colleagues. It was important to me because I work in a competitive field, and many of my coworkers are incredibly accomplished. I introduced my boyfriend to everyone, hoping he'd be on his best behavior. But of course, he wasn't. Barely an hour in, he started the dumb comments again. My close work friends are used to me venting about this, but one of my senior colleagues, an incredibly sharp, no-nonsense woman, was clearly unimpressed. She turned to him and said, "Hey, you're a guest here, and you do realize who you're talking to, right? Maybe cut the dumb comments." He just laughed, like he always does. Then later in the evening, I accidentally dropped my drink while reaching for it, and right on cue, he loudly called me dumb again. That's when my senior completely shut him down. You know, everyone in this room has either an advanced degree, multiple certifications, or years of experience in their field, including OP, who's one of the smartest and most competent people I've worked with. The only person here without those credentials is you. So if we're talking about intelligence, you're the least qualified person to judge. Dead silence. For the first time ever, my boyfriend had nothing to say. He went completely red and barely spoke for the rest of the night. When we got home, he was livid. He said I should have defended him, that I let my colleague humiliate him, and that what she said was unnecessary and cruel. I just looked at him and said, "So now you know how it feels." He's sulking and acting like I'm the bad guy. For what it's worth, my senior later apologized to him before leaving, saying she didn't mean to be harsh but was just looking out for me. Now he's acting like I betrayed him, but I can't bring myself to feel bad. After years of him publicly embarrassing me, wasn't it fair for him to finally experience what he put me through? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Are you sure you want to be with this person who clearly demeans you regularly, is emotionally abusive, something your very tremendously awesome colleague caught onto immediately? Your senior rocks and is wonderful. I hope she is your mentor. Right? She saw in one night what I've been dealing with for years. It really put things into perspective for me. It's got me thinking, why have I put up with this for so long? She's not technically my mentor, but I definitely see her as someone to learn from though. It's sad that he's sulking instead of reflecting on his behavior. You deserve a partner who lifts you up. Sounds like he's never felt empathy, so why would he start now? Hopefully OP moves on from this lost cause. Not the a-hole for what happened, he more than deserved that. But you're the a-hole to yourself for being with someone like him. You deserve better. Yeah, I guess this is the wake-up call I didn't expect, but I needed. I'm done putting up with his nonsense. The only time you should put up with being treated with disdain in a relationship is when you have a cat. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not showing up for a shift I was scheduled? My coworker, who is sick every other week and needs her shifts covered or switched around often, texted the work chat the other day that she was sick, yet again, and asked to switch. She also complains about not getting enough hours even though she calls out. I prefer to have a set schedule every week, but I decided to switch with her this time. She said hopefully she would feel better by Saturday, today. I worked her shift 2 days ago. Yesterday, I went into work and was surprised to see that she had worked her morning shift. After work, she came up to the bar, got herself a shift drink, and sat down to eat her meal and drink a beer. She looked and sounded fine. Afterward, she asked to take a shot with our other coworker who was off as well. They discussed hanging out and whether they should buy beer or not. Today, just a few hours before the shift I was originally scheduled for but had given to her, she texted the work chat saying she was still sick and that I needed to work my shift as originally scheduled. I got extremely annoyed because I had made other plans today. I told her in the work chat that, no, I was not going to work today because I assumed she was feeling better. She had been taking shots, drinking, and working the day before. She asked if anyone else wanted to work, and no one responded. She then messaged the manager to tell them she wasn't working my shift and that I had to. The manager is now mad at me because I refused to come in after my coworker's behavior and making other plans. Am I wrong for not showing up to my shift? Now for the top advice. I'm not sure how it is at your company, but everywhere I've worked, if you ever switch shifts with someone, their shift becomes yours and yours becomes theirs. So if they don't show up, it's on them, even if it was originally your shift. If this is the case, then not the a-hole, and maybe never trade with her again to protect yourself. I currently work for the government. Here, if you trade shifts and the other person calls out or no-shows what was your shift, you still get in trouble. Every other job I've had has been like yours. You sign a thing or email boss about making the swap and go on your way. Not the a-hole. Don't trade shifts with her again. Also, I would discuss with your manager. If they aren't bothered with her unreliability, the manager needs to deal with all her absences. Totally agree. It's unfair for her to manipulate the schedule like that. I'm wondering why the manager is not saying anything to this girl. There is always that one coworker that gets away with everything, and nothing is ever said to them. It's not fair and frustrating. Not the a-hole. At my job, when you switch, you have to sign a paper. So now your regular shift is no longer your shift at all, and is on the other coworker if they don't come in. They probably bang. I've seen that go on in a few different places. Last story. Am I the a-hole for publicly telling my ex-coworker that I don't like them? I, 32 female, ran into an ex-coworker, Sarah, 31 female, at a bar while I was out with friends celebrating my birthday. We worked together for 2 years at a fast food restaurant. I left this job in January 2025. She was a shift lead, and I've never liked her. I didn't like her management style or her personality. She came up to me at the bar, and we had a 10-ish minute conversation. I thought it was cordial and polite. She was mostly asking me questions about my new job. She asked if I would recommend her for a job at my new company. I got a job at a call center, nothing glamorous. I told her that I wasn't comfortable with that. She brushed it off with a bad joke. I ended the conversation and walked to the table my friends were at, and Sarah followed me. I didn't notice until I got to the table and she sat down next to me. My friends introduced themselves, and I, without thinking, said something along the lines of, "I don't like you. Can you please leave?" I have autism, and I could tell that was not the correct thing to say. Everyone seemed uncomfortable, and Sarah was visibly shocked and upset. My friends were shocked and confused. They assumed that Sarah was a friend or someone I invited to the table. They had zero context of who Sarah is. Sarah made a scene and told me that I was rude, a bee, and a bunch of other things. She said that I embarrassed her. She embarrassed herself by following me to my table uninvited. And yes, she knew it was my birthday. I do feel bad and know that I could have formulated a more polite response. But she's a former coworker, and an unpleasant one. I have many stories about her, but the worst examples are that she made jokes about my autism and deafness multiple times. She is fake nice, and her friendship style is bullying people. She has a really icky vibe. I don't know what Sarah wanted from me. I wasn't going to hang out with her, especially not on my birthday. So, am I the a-hole for telling her bluntly that I don't like her? Not the a-hole. Some people apparently need straight-up bluntness even if it is rude. She is one of them. You told her you weren't comfortable recommending her for a position where you are now. She brushed it off with a joke. You ended the conversation. She followed you to the table. She needed blunt. Exactly. I'm sure there are many people reading this post saying, "Damn, I wish I could be that blunt." There is a time and a place for it, and this was it. Also, with autism, it's easy for manipulative people to hijack that tendency to question your actions whenever anyone gets upset. You do the right thing, and then they act all offended, hoping to get you to waffle. If you suspect this may be happening, seeking independent opinions, like you're doing right now, is vital. Well done all around, OP. Wish I had the guts to be that clear and to the point. People like Sarah rely on everyone being too polite to call her out. She was expecting to crash your party, make contacts, and try and persuade your friends to get her a job. She'd have made you miserable in your friend circle by invading it. Good for you for speaking up.